And welcome to Mindfulness Everything. My name is Han Yi. I'm the host. I'm a psychologist as well as a mindfulness instructor. And so this program is about unpacking the 7 attitudes of mindfulness by Jon Kabat-Zinn. And not just unpacking the attitudes, we will also talk about how we can apply the attitudes to our daily lives. And very excited today to have some guests with us, Gary and Sheila from Mindfulness on the Rocks. And not just Mindfulness on the Rocks, they are actually calling in from Canada. How are you guys doing, Gary and Sheila?
Hi, we're doing
Good.
well.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Henny.
A
That's
lot
great.
colder here, a lot colder in Canada than Singapore, I'm sure.
Yes, yes. I have very fond memories of the Canadian cold when I was there. Yes, yes. So tell us a bit more about what your work is around Mindfulness on the Rocks.
So we started Mindfulness on the Rocks about 2015 following a lot of work within the healthcare system here in Sudbury. And our work really focused on providing mindfulness-based stress reduction, evidence-based information, and meditation practices for healthcare professionals. And we enjoyed that. The healthcare professionals seemed to benefit with reductions in stress and just better quality of life, less air, and better patient connectedness. And then following that, we launched our Mindfulness on the Rocks to be able to offer beyond the healthcare system to the community. And with the pandemic, we were able to launch that expansion to the national level in Canada. And now, thanks to the Mindful Village, we're excited to be doing this globally.
Yay, that's fantastic. Thank you for the background. So started in the healthcare system. Okay, I hear you. And um actually I'm curious. So one of the things that we talk about in a mindfulness practice is this attitude of non-striving, right? So maybe can you speak to that attitude, say in the context of healthcare? Yeah.
Healthcare professionals are often known to be type A individuals. They've gathered their education and they have great expertise. And so there is this expectation that we will achieve and aspire and build on excellence and continue to publish and research and et cetera. And non-striving in the mindfulness practice really has us, reconsidering what all that striving is about, and knowing then when we don't strive, that things will unfold as they're meant to. And and coming to the practice, we know that we're not trying to get anywhere. We're not trying to achieve anything. We really are being with whatever our a focus of attention is. Often that's the breath, maybe it's body movements, maybe it's mindful eating. And but we're not trying to go anywhere. We're not trying to achieve anything. We truly are being with what is. So that's a non-striving.
Yeah, and also healthcare professionals want to fix, and as patients utilizing the healthcare system, we want to be fixed. So it's very difficult to not be doing and to simply be. So that non-striving piece can be quite a challenge. The other thing that we've noticed is that often people will say, Sheila and Gary, we really want to take your course, but I don't think I can empty my mind. And we always, sometimes we kind of chuckle internally about that, then we reinforce that, again, it's not destination driven. You're not trying to empty the mind. It's being a spacious, curious explorer with what's happening and what's unfolding, as opposed to trying to fix or alter or change. Yeah, that can be a challenge, not only for healthcare professionals, but for anybody that's trying to explore a mindfulness practice.
Mm, mm. So I hear that piece around healthcare professionals, and I think the thing now is actually is not just about that, it's beyond that. It's healthcare for individuals as well, right? I mean, and we are so acculturated to running fast and even faster. And so when we are asked to be in a non-striving mode, that is particularly challenging and difficult.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you think we can adopt and take on this attitude in our fast-paced environment and culture that we are in right now?
Yeah, that's quite a challenge because, we do everything fast paced, and the pandemic kind of, put fuel to the fire there, because before if we were going to, the grocery store, for instance, we were going in and it was a social event and we would be taking our time and, and maybe more mindful about things we were picking up and so forth and chatting with people as we would bump into them. Now it's become very destination driven. We're there, we have a task, we want to get out. People are driving more haphazardly. A lot more accidents since the pandemic. Again, also, a lot of people aren't thinking about one thing, but they're doing so much, and the monkey mind is constantly spinning. And so, anyway, it's hard to slow that down. The other thing is too, the persona that we adapt. As far as feeding our own ego. Often in the hospital, if you watch any of the medical shows, they're running, the running to the ER, running to help, running, and so there comes some adrenaline and some adaptation of that kind of persona when you're working in the healthcare system as well. That the expectation is that you'll be running, running, running. So hard to slow down. And the other thing is too that often people don't come to realize the importance of going to stillness until they actually have tried it. And they often see that as a huge task. Well, I saw a healthcare practitioner today, and they said, "Oh, you teach mindfulness," and they said, "Well, when could you find time to do that kind of, I missed surgeries and budgets and everything else, and and we reinforce, well, even 10 minutes a day could be radically helpful. So, yeah, it's really hard during these times because people are rushing, running. The other thing is, we're not, even if you pick up your iPad and you read the newspaper or the headlines, people are just scrolling as opposed to stopping and savoring and being with. So we're really in that constant mode.
I think the other thing that the pandemic has introduced us to, though, especially those that have needed to work from home, there has been some pacing and maybe some acknowledging that we've been over striving, and maybe there's been an opportunity to take some time, and there's been some realizations, and people are signing up and wanting to explore MBSR or mindfulness practices because they know that what has served them in the past is no longer serving them. So coming to some stillness, learning some mindfulness practices, maybe incorporating mindfulness into everyday life would serve them better. So that's what we're hearing from some of the folks that we're meeting.
I see. So sort of a relook at what is important, our lives, what are they about, the purpose, and having that inner practice, right? Coming back to ourselves. And you so use the word stillness. I think that's something that's a very powerful word, right? I mean, how do we learn to be still, and what is the benefit of being still? Because it does come back to what's in it for me, right? And what are your thoughts around the cultivating stillness and the value of this inner practice?
So, do you want me to? So, the cultivation of stillness takes courage, and it's much easier to do things, or much easier to do things that are distracting. It's easier not to be with self than to be with self. Sometimes being with self means looking in the mirror, and sometimes that's difficult. Being with the pleasant and the unpleasant and all the circumstances, and as Jon Kabat-Zinn says, the whole catastrophe of life. So As far as cultivating stillness, we always try. What I like about the mindfulness-based stress reduction program is that it builds from 5 minutes of brief going to the breath to a full day of silence, and then giving a whole buffet of practices that are takeaway. So I really think that the slowness and the building on of the curriculum from week to week, and the non-judgment piece, and also being patient and trusting that the curriculum is evidence-based, and also trusting in one's ability to go to stillness. Sheila has worked with trauma-sensitive mindfulness practices, and often she talks about the window of tolerance, and also just safely immersing oneself into mindfulness without it being into the overwhelming zone.
That's right. And I also really foster, and I use the word often, this gentleness and kindness, and that we're fostering our own inner wisdom. And when we do come to stillness and moments or seconds of stillness, just knowing what's right for us at any given time really brings to our world, our awareness, and the world as a whole, our authenticity. And it's when we're authentic that we can really be true to our behaviors, understanding our thoughts, and acting wisely.
And so it sounds like the main thing is to really tune into ourselves, right? And listening. There's so much wisdom that we are untapping, and sometimes we just ignore it because we're just so fast. We're so busy with running and getting ahead that we lose that presence and that connectedness to ourselves. Yeah. And you mentioned this word about window of tolerance. Can you share more about that?
Sure. I have pursued some training and studies with David Trelevin in
Okay.
trauma-sensitive mindfulness, and he speaks to the window of tolerance, and I believe it's Dan Siegel's work. And this window of tolerance provides us with an awareness of when we're in hyper arousal and we're at the high end, and maybe when we're zoning out or being frozen in our responses at the low end. But when we're in the middle and we understand what our window of tolerance is, that's when we're really able to maybe function at our optimal, maybe be our best, because we're aware, and when we're highly aroused or when we're zoning out or freezing, if we're aware of those periods, we can do what's healthy for us to bring us back to that window of tolerance so that we can be more present and be more responsive and less reactive in our behaviors and in our speech to others and in our relationships. So that window of tolerance has really been a key and a tool, a nice tool that we've been able to bring into our MBSR programming. The other tool that I've been introduced to has been the one where there are 3 circles. So if you can imagine that the inner circle is an area of comfort. The next circle surrounding that is an area of challenge. And then the circle outside of that is a circle of overwhelm. And so really, if we always stay in that area of comfort, we might not learn, we might not expand, we might not stretch ourselves. If we move into the next circle, which is challenge, and some of us might be challenging ourselves to do this 8-week program with MBSR. Some of us might be just dipping our foot in and seeing if there's something there for us. But when we know we're in overwhelm, we're not learning. And if we can recognize when it is that we're in overwhelm, we can actually bring ourselves back to an area of calm or allow ourselves to be challenged. And we can do that with, some exercises like breathing or some body movement or bringing ourselves in nature.
I hear you. So it's that window, when you say window of tolerance, I also see it as a window of performance as well, right? Having that optimal zone, and it's a dance, it's moving up and down, it breathes, just like your breath.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so as we're talking about non-striving, so I guess the question is there a relationship between this attitude of non-striving and working with this window of tolerance, or working through the different zones that you mentioned?
I think there is. I think when we realize that we're getting in our own way, we're striving, we're over striving. This non-striving allows us to see things as they really are, and then to really act wisely. So, so often we get in the way because we are maybe overperforming, or uh, just attempting to maybe be too busy, maybe overextended, over efforting. And I know in my own yoga practice, sometimes the yoga instructor will say, let's not over effort, but let's find where it is that we can just reach our area where we're challenged, and notice that stretch. We have to effort. We do need to effort. Coming to the cushion or the mat, takes effort. It takes effort to commit to the practice. But it is in just being and allowing ourselves to be, and trusting that what needs to be revealed will be revealed.
I think about athletes often wanting to, that old expression, no pain, no gain. And, and I see that fitting well with the window of tolerance because, so often we think that it has to be painful. We're not doing it right unless we're really, putting everything into it. So we can consequently move into that overwhelm zone, but that's not an area that might be beneficial to us. So it's finding that middle ground, that place where we can grow, but also not be so challenged and overwhelmed that it makes it impossible to grow and to be.
Thank you. And the thing that's coming to me is this word discernment, right? And I think that comes with the practice of non-striving, discerning when is it to be still and when is it time to run, right? Because there is a time to strive, to work hard, to put in wise effort, but there's a time to just let go and just be quiet and be stationary, literally, and be with ourselves and recognizing the wisdom of the moment, right, and the richness of what the presence brings. Okay.
Yeah, because we miss a lot when we miss a lot when we're not paying attention to our surroundings and just being in the moment. And often we're striving so much that life's passing us by, and we're really failing to see what's truly around us, and also the relationships that we have and so forth. So when we are non-striving and able to simply be with, then we see things with full luminosity, and we experience those relationships even deeper.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for this discussion. So before we conclude, right? So if I were you, I'm a hidden Mr. Striver, type A. I want to get things done. I want to achieve this goal. And I come to you, Gary and Sheila, help me out here. I want to strive, but I think I'm burning out. What would you say to me?
Well, I would say that that it's time to take your time and come to the cushion, and that sometimes the non-doing can be more beneficial than the hamster on a wheel that you have, or that we have become accustomed to. And and often if people are recognizing that they're burning out or feeling that they're that hamster on the wheel, it's often a plea for help. Often they're looking for help, and they want to slow down, but they just don't know how. The practice of mindfulness helps you, first of all, to come to the realization of what you're doing when you're doing it, and to come to the realization that there's a problem here. And if I keep functioning at this pace, then it's going to take a toll on me physiologically and psychologically, and I don't like it. I don't have the quality of life that I'd like to have. So sometimes we've had people come sometimes for orientation, and they'll say, yeah, I want to take the course, and they'll come to orientation, and then they won't sign up. They take a step back, and you know, and then they come back again. And you know, one person I think came to about 4 orientations and finally signed up, and then said,
Really?
you know, oh, you know, why did I wait so long? And but again, it really takes courage to embark on being with self. But if you can take the time, the rewards are tenfold.
And I might encourage you, Hani, to just consider that this is time limited.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity for you to invest in yourself, and just to come for 2.5 hours over an 8-week period, 10 sessions, and just invest in yourself. There's a beginning and there's an end. Be true to the practices and the curriculum over that time, and just be curious, like you know, an experiment in a lab, and dedicate that time and just see what happens. And this is evidence-based. This has been proven for our own personal and professional well-being. So that's probably how I would respond to you, being a type A.
Thank you, Gary and Sheila. I will definitely be sure to look up to the program. So thank you again for joining us on Mindfulness Everything, and thank you for listening to our program as well. Stay tuned, and see you later. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.